Hi, it's Mark Owen from Moose Marketing and PR and the editor of Punchline magazine. Today I'm at Southgate Street and the world's media is going to congregate. At the moment I'm joined by David Hart, BBC Breakfast News. Good morning, David. Thanks for joining Punchline.
Good morning.
Well, what do you reckon? Obviously this is a terrible case. We know all about Fred West. They're started to dig up the basement of the Clean Plate here on Southgate Street. I'm assuming this is going to be a massive story.
Well, I can remember the story back in '94. It started off and nobody knew how far it was going to go then. So what I would say is, how big's the story going to be? Who knows? It could develop into something more. More people could come forward about other connections. But I always think, yes, anything's possible with where this one's going to go.
Now, obviously, you work for the BBC and BBC Points West. What sort of time do you get here in the morning, and how does it actually work when you work for a corporation like that on such a big story that's bubbling away?
Well, my contact, the communication started yesterday afternoon, and it was more or less about how we were going to broadcast and who with. And of course, today we're with Phil Mackey, who's network BBC. So we talk about what time we're going to do the first live hit, which was going to be 6 o'clock, and then we moved it back to 7. And then it's a matter of just finding out whether, literally, logistics allows us to get here, parked up, get in position, and also get a reception, because we use what's called a bonded cellular transmission system. So you have the logistical, you have the technology, and obviously me as a cameraman has to get up, set up, and communicate with somebody I haven't worked with before. So you've got about sort of 4 or 5 different elements to making that story work the next day.
What do you think the economic impact might be on the city with a story like this?
What effect would it have on the economic side?
Well, do you think people would be turned away from coming here, or do you think people would be attracted from coming here? Would it be, unfortunately, in the end, a bit of a destination?
I think there's a lot of curious public out there, and just when we've been here today, you've got people wandering around having a look. So I think because of the notorious Fred West story going back to the 90s, I mean, that was such a huge story, and it's worldwide. I just think anybody around is going to be curious, because everyone will know probably someone who's connected with the people he murdered.
I mean, one of the big things about 25 Cromwell Street, and the reason why they knocked it down, is they actually had coaches coming up, from all over the country, tourists visiting the site and clogging up the roads, and obviously it was turning it into a rather grisly tourist attraction. That's one of the reasons they knocked it down. So hopefully we're not going to find the same here.
It's not the being a tourist attraction. Yes, it's not the nicest story to sort of bring tourism in.
No, that's right.
But there again, we're all human, we're all curious, and we all like to sort of try and sort of see for ourselves what's actually happening in our area.
David, always a pleasure to see you again. Thanks for joining Punchline Talks this morning.
My pleasure.